This is Optimal Finance Daily, episode 860, Reason to Have an Emergency Fund, Medical Emergencies, by Natalie with MakingSenseOfSense.com. And I am Dan, I'm your host and narrator here at Optimal Finance Daily, and I'm here every weekday bringing you some of the best blogs on personal finance in podcast form. And a happy Friday to you. Hope you've had a great week so far, and maybe you've got some ideas for us, some topic requests for future shows. If you do, come share those with us at oldpodcast.com. That is oldpodcast.com. Before we get to the post, I want to thank creditrepair.com for their support. They are dedicated to helping you develop a healthier relationship with your credit. Removing questionable negative items is one of the fastest ways to increase your score, and creditrepair.com will help you do that. They make rebuilding your credit as smooth as possible by using tools like mobile apps, email and text alerts, and more. And they understand that credit scores are not just a number, it's a lifestyle. This is something we hear about on this show frequently, and recently in fact. So let creditrepair.com help you rewrite your credit story. Head over to the link in our show notes to sign up today for a free 15-minute credit analysis. Now let's get right to it and start optimizing your life. Reason to Have an Emergency Fund, Medical Emergencies, by Natalie with MakingSenseOfSense.com. A few weeks ago, I had one of the scariest things happen to me. My longtime partner and boyfriend began to start getting really sick. This wasn't just a case of a fever and the sniffles. The symptoms were a little bit more serious than that. He began to get severe stomach pains along with a complete loss of interest of eating or drinking. I'll spare you the more gruesome details, but it got really bad. It finally ended with his fever spiking to almost 103 degrees and me rushing him to the emergency room of the hospital. My boyfriend is one of those people who you would never consider being sick. He's one of these people who barely gets a cold. In his work, he works with carpentry materials to help repair homes in the area. This line of work also requires him to lift heavy materials and do lots of physical work. His physical health was so good that it knocked us all by surprise. Suddenly, he was extremely lethargic and could not even get out of bed. The once fun-loving person that I knew was being taken over by some invisible and frightening ailment. The night I finally took him to the emergency room, my boyfriend was in a state of panic. He was worried about the financial aspect of him having a medical issue. His fever was out of control and he could barely stand up. He was also in a state of panic because of the costs that would be incurred from all the emergency room bills. I told him to basically shut his mouth up over those types of thoughts, as his first priority should be his health. I didn't fault him for having thoughts like these. We just happen to be a couple that cares a lot about money, and we both work hard to be financially stable. When something like this happens, many would feel unsure about how they will pay such medical costs. This is certainly true in the United States. My boyfriend was lucky enough to be immediately seen by the medical staff. They ran a series of tests and discovered that his colon was very inflamed. Under the doctor's orders, his health had been deteriorating to the point where it was decided that being hospitalized was the only option. My boyfriend's reaction went into further panic as he realized what this meant, especially for the finances. I tried to convince him otherwise, as I knew stressing out could only make his condition worse. He was placed in a hospital room where he could be monitored by the professional staff. For the next couple of days, my boyfriend was given several procedures and medications that at first did nothing. I went to the hospital every day and tried to console my boyfriend through this difficult time. He once again expressed his fears of the cost of being in the hospital. I let him know that there's not enough money out there to replace someone's health. I also reminded him that we had an emergency fund that was precisely for occasions like this, as this was a bona fide emergency. There is no bigger reason to have an emergency fund than in situations like this. You just never know when the proverbial will hit the fan and require you to have liquid assets available. We had absolutely zero notice that something like this would happen. Medical situations are one of those things that usually pop out of nowhere and can be very destructive if you're living on the financial edge. The truth is, there are too many people out there who are living paycheck to paycheck. Too many people do not think of having a form of savings as a priority, and nothing could be further from the truth. I once had a friend that had some major complications due to her high-risk pregnancy. She never took the time to save, as she felt it was more important to buy nicer handbags and other pricey things. As a result of no savings or health insurance, she wound up with over $15,000 in medical bills. The resulting stress on her psyche and family caused her even more health problems and later more health bills. She applied for government assistance and was given some help after a big battle with paperwork and authorizations. She could have avoided a lot of stress if she had saved something in advance. As I write this, my boyfriend is still recovering from the hospital and will hopefully be home soon. He finally accepts the fact that it will not destroy us financially since we have a savings fund and health insurance that has a set limit on what we're liable to pay. Being able to concentrate on what is important is such a relief in times like these. It has literally helped me sleep at night. I can't imagine what we'd be doing without it. Having an emergency savings account is of utmost importance, especially in a world that guarantees nothing. Taking the initiative to do something for your financial future is crucial. Learn from my story because you just never know when you'll need money now. My boyfriend and I are able to focus on plans to get him back to normal health, and that is what is important. Please take the time to prepare for life's unexpected pitfalls so that you don't end up in the financial hole. You just listened to the post titled Reason to Have an Emergency Fund, Medical Emergencies, by Natalie of MakingSenseOfSense.com. And thank you again to CreditRepair.com. You can get a free 15-minute credit analysis with the link in our show notes. CreditRepair.com makes it easy to stay connected to your credit repair journey and help reach the goals you've set. And they do it through a personal online dashboard, credit monitoring, email and text alerts, and other easy-to-use tools that make rebuilding your credit as smooth as possible. They analyze your credit reports and work with you to identify questionable negative items hurting your score. Then they build a custom game plan based on your specific situation. Previous members have seen an average 40-point TransUnion credit score gain during only 4 months of membership. So let CreditRepair.com help you rewrite your credit story. Head over to the link in our show notes to sign up today for a free 15-minute credit analysis. And thank you to CreditRepair.com for sponsoring this podcast. And that'll do it for another week of Optimal Finance Daily. Have a great weekend, and as always, thank you so much for being here and for subscribing. I'll see you back here on Monday, where your optimal life awaits.